Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into the story. The small, cozy flower shop was nearly empty, with just the soft hum of background music filling the space. The air was warm, a sharp contrast to the chilly evening outside. Shelves lined with bouquets of fresh flowers painted the room with colors that seemed to dance in the low light. Emma Brooks, the shop owner, ran her fingers along the stems of roses as she arranged them into a perfect bouquet. The faint clinking of the front door's bell echoed through the space as a figure stepped inside. She barely looked up, thinking it was just another customer. But when she did, her eyes met a tall man in a well-tailored suit, his dark hair neatly combed. He looked out of place in the small, humble shop, and yet something about him drew her in. "Hi, can I help you?" Emma asked, her voice light but nervous. Her fingers fidgeted with the ribbon she was tying. The man's lips curved slightly into a smile, though his expression remained unreadable. "Yes, I need a bouquet," he said, his voice smooth. "Something simple but elegant." She nodded, her mind racing as she quickly scanned the flowers before her. "We have a beautiful selection of wildflowers today," she offered, leading him toward the back of the shop. He followed, his sharp eyes scanning the shelves, but he didn't seem to mind when she turned away to arrange the flowers. "You look like you might be going to a very important event," she said casually, trying to make conversation. The man hesitated before responding. "Just a dinner meeting, nothing special," he said, his eyes flicking to her for a moment, as if wondering if she truly believed that. Emma continued with her work, all the while feeling an odd tension between them, something unspoken. Her nerves tingled, but she couldn't put her finger on why. It wasn't just the fact that he was impeccably dressed or the air of quiet authority that seemed to surround him. It was the way he looked at her, as if seeing through the walls she had carefully built around herself. Once the bouquet was complete, Emma carefully wrapped it up. "There you go," she said with a smile, handing it over. "That'll be $60. He nodded, taking out his wallet without a word, handing her the money with a smooth gesture. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice almost faltering. She didn't know why, but something about this man made her heart race in a way she couldn't understand. As she turned back to the counter, she heard him speak again, his voice more serious now. "Do you ever feel like you're stuck in one place?" She turned to face him, slightly surprised by the sudden change in tone. "Stuck," she repeated, unsure of where this was going. The man's eyes softened, and for a moment, she thought she saw a glimmer of vulnerability behind them. "Sometimes. You can have everything you ever wanted and still feel like you're just going through the motions." Emma nodded, feeling an unexpected connection. "I get that," she said, her voice quieter now. "It's easy to get stuck in a routine, no matter where you are or how much you have." There was a long pause, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. Then he spoke again, his voice less certain now, almost like he wasn't ready to leave. "You're not what I expected," he said, almost to himself. Emma blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "I guess I expected someone different. Someone more polished." She laughed lightly, trying to brush off the sudden tension that had filled the air. "I'm definitely not polished. Just a waitress running a flower shop." His gaze lingered on her for a moment, as if weighing his next words. "You don't belong here," he said, almost too quietly for her to hear. Emma opened her mouth to reply, but just then, her phone buzzed with a message. She glanced at it, realizing her blind date, Kevin, had just arrived. "Oops," she said with a flush. "I'm sorry. I must have mixed up tables. You're not Kevin, are you?" The man chuckled, a soft, warm sound. "No, I'm not Kevin." Her face turned bright red. "I'm so embarrassed," she muttered, quickly grabbing her coat. "I'm really sorry, I'll just..." "Emma," the man said, his voice stopping her in her tracks. She turned, feeling her heart race again. "Yes?" He smiled, his eyes now filled with something unspoken. "It's all right. Really. But if you ever want to talk more, here's my card." He handed her a business card, and without another word, he turned and walked out of the shop, leaving Emma standing there, her heart beating erratically in her chest. Stay tuned for more as Emma's life is about to take an unexpected turn. Emma stood there, holding the man's business card, her mind racing. She couldn't believe what had just happened. The interaction had felt surreal, like a scene from a movie. A simple mistake, and yet something about the man's presence had shaken her. She glanced at the card in her hand. Liam Parker, CEO. Her eyes widened as she read the name again, wondering if this was some kind of joke. But the card looked too official, too real. She shook her head, not sure whether to laugh or be embarrassed. It had been a mistake, a harmless mix-up, and yet there was something in the way he looked at her that made her wonder if their brief exchange meant more than just a customer at a flower shop. She couldn't stop thinking about it as she went back to arranging flowers. The bouquet she had just put together now seemed like a small task compared to the chaos swirling in her mind. She forced herself to focus, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the man who had just walked out of her shop. A few hours later, the evening rush had passed, and the shop was quiet again. Emma found herself cleaning up when her phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend Jenny. "How did the date go?" it read. Emma smiled to herself. Jenny had been trying to set her up with a guy named Kevin for weeks now. But the encounter at the shop earlier had nothing to do with Kevin. Still, Emma replied with a shrug emoji, not ready to explain the bizarre situation yet. She couldn't even explain it to herself. Emma closed the shop for the night, locked the door, and walked to her small apartment just a few blocks away. Her apartment was modest, nothing extravagant. She lived simply, just getting by, but it was enough. She tossed her keys on the counter and dropped her bag on the couch, still thinking about the man who had walked into her life, albeit briefly. The next day, Emma woke up early to prepare for the upcoming workday. The weather was gloomy, and the streets were wet from the previous night's rain. As she walked to her shop, the city felt familiar, but the encounter with Liam Parker weighed on her thoughts. She tried to shake it off, reminding herself that he was probably just another rich guy who could afford flowers without thinking twice. But somehow, something about him didn't sit right with her initial judgment. There was a depth to him, a quiet mystery that left her feeling unsettled. Emma spent the day at the shop, serving customers, arranging bouquets, and doing what she did best. Yet, in the back of her mind, she kept wondering about the man with the business card. Why had he given it to her? Was it just a friendly gesture, or did he have something else in mind? She didn't know, and that uncertainty gnawed at her. Around noon, a man in a sleek suit entered the shop again. Emma looked up, not immediately recognizing him, but then it hit her: Liam Parker. He was standing at the door, looking around. She blinked, surprised, and then quickly stood up to greet him. "Back again," she said, trying to sound casual, even though her heart was racing. Liam gave her a small smile, and his eyes seemed to soften as he approached the counter. "I've been thinking about our conversation from yesterday," he said, his voice steady but with a hint of something more. "And I thought, Maybe we could talk some more. If you're not too busy? Emma's breath caught in her throat. She wasn't sure how to respond. He was the last person she expected to see again. He had only been in her shop for a few minutes, but it felt like there was a connection, a spark between them that she couldn't explain. Sure, Emma said, still not sure why she was agreeing. I'm free in a little while. Just give me a few minutes to finish up. Liam nodded, his gaze never leaving hers. I'll wait, he said, and it was clear that he wasn't leaving until they had this conversation. Emma watched him as he sat down at one of the tables by the window, his posture relaxed but with an air of quiet authority that seemed out of place in the simple shop. She quickly finished the tasks she was working on, but her mind kept drifting back to him. She was trying to focus, trying to keep her composure, but something about him kept drawing her in. She wasn't sure what it was, but she knew she couldn't ignore it. Finally, she walked over to him, trying to act normal despite the racing thoughts in her head. So, what's on your mind? She asked, her voice calm, though she felt anything but. Liam looked up at her, his eyes thoughtful. I guess I'm just curious, he said slowly. Curious about you. I feel like there's more to you than meets the eye, Emma. More than just a florist running a shop. Her stomach fluttered nervously at his words. She wasn't used to people being so direct, especially men like him. I'm just a person, I guess, she replied, unsure of what else to say. Liam's lips curved slightly into a smile. There's a lot more to you than that. I can tell. Emma felt a flush rise to her cheeks. Was he flirting with her? Or was he just being polite? She couldn't tell. I don't know what you're looking for, she said quietly, avoiding his gaze. But I'm just trying to make a living here. Nothing more. He leaned forward slightly, his voice lower now. I'm not looking for anything in particular, Emma. I just want to get to know you better. If you're open to it. Her heart skipped a beat. Was he serious? She hadn't expected him to show any real interest. She wasn't sure what to say, but her gut told her to trust him. Something in her couldn't ignore the connection they shared. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Okay. Let's talk. To be continued. Emma sat across from Liam, feeling the weight of the silence between them. The shop was quiet, the only sound being the soft rustle of flowers and the distant hum of traffic outside. She could feel his eyes on her, but she couldn't bring herself to meet his gaze. The conversation from the previous day seemed like a distant memory now, and the reality of sitting here with him made everything feel different, more real, more intense. So, Liam said, breaking the silence, his voice smooth but filled with an underlying curiosity. Tell me more about yourself, Emma. What made you open a flower shop? Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat, unsure of how to respond. She wasn't used to being the center of attention like this, especially not with someone as composed and powerful as Liam. But there was something in his tone, something that made her feel like he genuinely wanted to know. I've always loved flowers, she said, her voice soft but steady. Ever since I was a little girl, I would watch my mom arrange bouquets for the house. There's something about the way flowers can brighten up a space, make everything feel a little bit more alive. It just felt natural to me. She paused, looking down at the table for a moment before continuing. I never really had the chance to pursue a lot of things, but this, running my own shop, it's something I can hold on to. Liam nodded, his eyes thoughtful. It's amazing, really, he said. You know, I've met so many people in my life, but there's something about you that feels different. You don't fit into the usual mold. Emma wasn't sure how to take that. Was it a compliment? Or was it something else? I don't really know what that means, she said honestly, trying to keep her tone light. I mean, Liam continued, leaning forward slightly, most people I meet are all about appearances, about impressing others, about status. But you're grounded. There's something real about you. He paused, his eyes locking onto hers. I respect that. Emma felt her cheeks flush at his words. She wasn't used to receiving such direct compliments, especially from someone like him. Thanks, she muttered, unsure of how to respond. The conversation shifted as Liam leaned back in his chair, a more serious look on his face. So, what's next for you, Emma? What are you hoping for in the future? Her heart skipped a beat at the question. It was a question she'd been asking herself for months, but had never been able to answer. I don't really know, she admitted, staring down at her hands. I just want to keep the shop running, maybe grow it a little. But I don't think I'm meant to be doing this forever. Liam's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, Emma caught a glimpse of something vulnerable in his eyes. What do you think you're meant to do? He asked gently. I've always wanted to do more, she said, her voice quieter now. To make a real difference. But I don't know where to start. I don't have the resources, the connections. Her voice trailed off as she looked away, feeling the weight of her own doubts. Liam studied her for a long moment, as if weighing his next words carefully. You'd be surprised what you're capable of when you have the right support, he said, his voice low but sincere. You don't have to do it alone, you know. Emma looked back at him, surprised by the depth of his words. She didn't know what to say. She had always prided herself on doing things on her own, but maybe there was another way. Maybe it wasn't weakness to ask for help, to accept support. I'm not sure what you mean, she said quietly, her heart racing. But I'm not looking for anyone to fix my problems for me. I'm not talking about fixing anything, Liam said with a soft chuckle. I'm just saying that sometimes, having someone who believes in you can make all the difference. Emma was silent for a moment, processing his words. She didn't know what it was about him, maybe it was the way he carried himself, or the way he spoke, but she felt an overwhelming sense of trust in him, something she hadn't felt in a long time. I don't know if I can believe in myself, she whispered, almost to herself. Liam's expression softened, his voice calm and reassuring. You don't have to believe in yourself all the time, Emma. You just have to keep going. One step at a time. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of hope stir within her. It wasn't much, but it was something. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone in this world as she had thought. I'll think about it, she said, meeting his eyes. But for now, I'm just going to focus on today. Liam smiled, a genuine warmth in his expression. That's all anyone can do. Just one step at a time. As they sat there in silence, Emma realized that this conversation, this unexpected connection with Liam had changed something inside of her. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like maybe she could face it. Maybe she wasn't so alone after all. To be continued. Days passed, and Emma found herself thinking more and more about Liam and their conversations. The flower shop was as busy as ever, but there was a new energy in her life, a spark of hope that had been missing before. She couldn't quite explain it, but every time she walked into the shop, she felt a little lighter. Her days were still full of challenges, but something had shifted. Maybe it was the way Liam had made her think about her future, or maybe it was the way he had shown her that she wasn't alone in the world. Whatever it was, she knew she was starting to see things differently. One afternoon, as she was arranging a new delivery of roses, the door opened again, and she didn't need to look up to know who it was. The familiar sound of Liam's footsteps echoed in the small shop, and before she could even turn around, he was standing right in front of her. Hey, Liam greeted her with a smile. I hope I'm not interrupting. Emma looked up, her heart skipping a beat. She smiled back, trying to keep her cool, though she could feel the warmth rushing to her cheeks. Not at all. What brings you back here today? Liam leaned against the counter, his gaze steady. I wanted to see how you're doing, he said, his voice soft but earnest. I know things aren't always easy, and I thought maybe we could talk again. Emma blinked, surprised by his words. I'm fine, really, she said, trying to brush off the sudden rush of emotions she felt. Just, running the shop and keeping busy. I can tell, Liam said, his eyes scanning the room before returning to her. But I also know there's a lot more to you than just this. I see it every time I walk in here. Emma didn't know how to respond. His words were kind, but they made her feel exposed in a way she wasn't used to. She wasn't sure how to handle someone who saw so much in her. I'm just trying to make it work, she said quietly, looking down at the roses she was arranging. There was a pause before Liam spoke again, his voice quieter now. You're doing more than making it work, Emma. You're building something. You're creating something beautiful, something that matters. And I think you deserve to have more than just making it work. You deserve a life that's just as beautiful. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She wasn't used to hearing such words, and they hit her harder than she expected. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I don't know if I'm ready for more, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I've spent so long just trying to survive, just trying to get by. I've never really thought about what I deserve. Liam watched her, his expression serious now. You don't have to figure everything out right away. But I want you to know that there's more for you out there, if you're willing to take a chance. Emma swallowed hard, feeling a swirl of emotions inside her. Was he talking about something more, something beyond just this moment, beyond just the shop? She had no idea. But for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could trust him. Before she could respond, Liam reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. I've been thinking, he said, his tone shifting slightly, and I'd like to offer you something. Something that could help you get to where you want to be. Emma looked at the envelope in his hand, confused. What is this? Liam smiled, but there was a seriousness behind his eyes. It's an opportunity. I've been involved in a few charity projects recently, and I think you would be perfect to lead one of them. I want to help you grow, Emma. I want to give you a chance to create something bigger, something that could really make a difference. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. Was he serious? A chance to lead a project? She had never been in a position like this before. I don't know what to say, she whispered, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. This is a lot. You don't have to decide right now, Liam said gently, placing the envelope on the counter. Take your time. But I think you have what it takes. And if you decide to accept, I'll be here to support you. Every step of the way. Emma stared at the envelope, her mind racing. This was the opportunity she had always dreamed of but never thought she would get. But could she really do it? Could she take that leap, leave behind the safety of what she knew, and step into something unknown? Liam gave her a reassuring smile before turning to leave. I'll be around, he said quietly. Whenever you're ready. As he walked out of the shop, Emma stood there, staring at the envelope in front of her. Her heart was still racing, her mind still spinning. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of something bigger than herself, something that could change her life. But the question was she ready to take that step? She picked up the envelope, her fingers trembling slightly. She didn't have all the answers, but maybe that was okay. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. Something real. To be continued. Emma sat alone in the small back room of the flower shop, the envelope still resting in her hands. The soft glow of the overhead light cast shadows across the room, and the scent of fresh flowers filled the air, but it was as though the world outside had faded away. She couldn't focus on the arrangements in front of her, or the ticking of the clock on the wall. All she could think about was the envelope, the opportunity Liam had offered her. It felt like a dream, but it was real. He had believed in her. He saw something in her that she had never seen in herself, and now she was standing on the edge of something unknown. Could she really take that step? Could she walk away from the only life she had known and chase something bigger? She opened the envelope slowly, her heart racing as she pulled out the letter inside. The words on the page were clear, offering her a chance to lead a charity project, something that could make a real difference. She felt a knot form in her stomach. She had always dreamed of doing more, of helping others, but this was different. This was a chance to be part of something bigger than herself. Emma's fingers brushed over the words, and her mind started to race. The fear that had been lingering in the back of her mind for so long now crept forward, but it was different this time. This fear didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a challenge. She had spent so long running the flower shop, taking care of the small things, doing what was necessary to get by. But now, for the first time in her life, she was being asked to take a risk. The question was, could she do it? Could she really leave behind the comfort of her small shop, her familiar routine, and step into the unknown? She wasn't sure, but she knew she couldn't stay where she was forever. She had worked so hard to build something from nothing, but was it enough? Was it what she truly wanted? She placed the letter back into the envelope and took a deep breath. She had to make a choice. But it wasn't just about the project or the opportunity. It was about her future. For the first time, she felt like she had the power to shape it. The next day, Emma arrived at the shop early, the morning light filtering through the windows. She had made up her mind. She was going to take the leap. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she was tired of playing it safe. She had spent too long just surviving. Now, she wanted to start living. The bell above the door jingled as she stepped outside, the cool air greeting her as she walked toward the cafe where she had agreed to meet Liam. She felt a mixture of nerves and excitement bubbling inside her, but she knew she had made the right decision. When she arrived at the cafe, Liam was already there, sitting at a table near the window, his posture relaxed but his eyes scanning the room. As soon as he saw her, he smiled. "You came," he said, his voice warm and reassuring. Emma nodded, feeling a nervous excitement building in her chest. She had no idea what would happen next, but she felt ready for it. "I've made my decision," she said, sitting down across from him. "I'm in. I want to be part of this. I want to take that chance." Liam's smile widened, and for a brief moment, his eyes softened. "I knew you would," he said quietly. "I'm glad you're ready to take the next step, Emma. You've got what it takes." Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her, but it was quickly replaced by the realization that this was just the beginning. She wasn't just taking a chance on the project, she was taking a chance on herself. Over the next few weeks, Emma worked closely with Liam, learning about the charity project and the people involved. The more she immersed herself in the work, the more she realized how much she had to offer. It wasn't easy. There were challenges along the way, moments when she felt unsure, overwhelmed by the responsibility she had taken on. But every time she doubted herself, Liam was there to reassure her, to remind her that she was capable. As the project began to take shape, Emma felt a growing sense of pride. This was what she had always wanted, an opportunity to make a real difference, to do something meaningful. But more than that, it was a chance to prove to herself that she was worthy of more. One afternoon, after a long meeting, Emma and Liam walked out of the building together. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the city. Liam turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "You're doing great, Emma. I knew you had it in you." She smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. "Thank you, Liam. I don't think I could have done it without you." Liam paused for a moment, then looked at her with a serious expression. "You've done it because you believed in yourself, Emma. I just gave you a push. The rest was all you." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear those words until now. She had always been afraid of taking risks, afraid of failing. But with Liam's support, she was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. The future was still uncertain, but Emma knew one thing for sure: she was no longer afraid to take the next step. And whatever came next, she was ready for it. To be continued. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Emma threw herself into the charity project with a passion she had never known before. Every day brought new challenges, new hurdles to overcome, but it was different now. She was no longer afraid. She felt a sense of purpose, a drive that came from deep within her, fueled by the opportunity Liam had given her. The work was hard, but it felt meaningful, and for the first time in years, Emma could see the impact she was making. She spent her days working with a small but dedicated team, organizing events, coordinating with local businesses, and meeting people whose lives were about to change. She felt a sense of pride every time she saw the progress they were making. And through it all, Liam was there, offering support and guidance whenever she needed it. His belief in her never wavered, and that constant reassurance helped her push through the toughest moments. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Emma sat at her desk, exhausted but satisfied. She had just finalized the details for a major event, and she felt a sense of accomplishment that was hard to put into words. She leaned back in her chair, letting out a long sigh of relief, when her phone buzzed on the desk in front of her. It was a text from Liam. "Meet me at the cafe? I think we need to talk." Emma's heart skipped a beat. The text was simple, but there was something about it that made her feel uneasy. She quickly gathered her things and left the office, making her way to the cafe where they had met so many times before. When she arrived, Liam was already there, sitting at a corner table, looking more serious than usual. Emma's stomach tightened as she walked toward him. "Hey," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "What's going on?" Liam looked up at her, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking about everything," he began, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "About you, about the project, about what's next." Emma took a seat across from him, her mind racing. She had no idea where this conversation was going, but she could sense that something was different. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice quiet. Liam hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "I think it's time for you to take the next step, Emma. You've proven yourself in so many ways. But I want to offer you something more. Something bigger." Emma's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. "What do you mean?" she repeated, feeling a sense of both excitement and fear. "I've been thinking about bringing you on board full-time," Liam said, his eyes locking with hers. "Not just for the charity project, but for the entire foundation. I want you to take a leadership role. I want you to help shape the future of this organization. You've got the vision, the drive, and the heart. And I believe you're ready for this." Emma's mind raced as the words sank in. A leadership role. It was everything she had ever wanted but never dreamed could be within her reach. She had always been content with her little flower shop, but this was a chance to truly make a difference. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "This is everything I've wanted. But I never imagined it would come like this." Liam smiled, his expression softening. "You've earned it, Emma. You've worked harder than anyone I know, and I believe in you. I want to see you succeed. This isn't just about the project, Anna Marie, it's about you, your future. What do you think?" Emma sat in silence for a moment, her mind spinning. She had never imagined herself in this position. A leadership role at a foundation leading a cause that could change lives. It felt too big, too overwhelming. But at the same time, she couldn't ignore the excitement bubbling inside her. This was what she had been working toward, what she had been secretly hoping for all along. "I'm in," she said finally, her voice strong, despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach. "I want this. I want to help lead this organization. I'm ready." Liam's smile grew wider, and for a moment, Emma saw something more in his eyes, something like pride. "I knew you were ready," he said, standing up and extending his hand. "Let's do this." As they shook hands, Emma felt a rush of excitement and fear flood through her. This was a moment that would change everything. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. They spent the next few hours talking about the details of the new role, and as the night wore on, Emma's mind was racing with possibilities. This wasn't just a job, it was a chance to build something that could change the world. And she was ready for it. When Emma finally left the cafe that night, she walked out into the cool night air, her heart full of hope and excitement. The future was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: she wasn't afraid anymore. She had found her path, and she was ready to walk it. To be continued. The weeks following Emma's decision were a blur of meetings, planning, and late nights spent refining every detail of the charity project. Now, officially part of the foundation, she was no longer just a small business owner. She was a leader, working alongside Liam to shape the future of something that mattered. It was overwhelming at times, but each day she felt more and more confident in her new role. She wasn't just doing it for herself anymore, she was doing it for everyone who depended on the project. Despite the pressure, Emma felt a strange sense of peace, as though everything she had done up until now had been leading her to this point. She worked tirelessly, coordinating with her team, reaching out to potential sponsors, and organizing events. With Liam's unwavering support and guidance, Emma quickly found her footing. She began to trust herself more, feeling like she finally had a purpose beyond the flower shop. However, not everything was as smooth as it seemed. As Emma became more involved, she started to notice the complexities of running an organization of this size. The stakes were higher, and every decision felt like it could make or break the success of the project. There were moments when doubt crept in, when Emma questioned whether she was really ready for this kind of responsibility. But each time she faltered, Liam was there to reassure her. He believed in her more than anyone else, and that belief kept her going. One afternoon, Emma was reviewing some paperwork in her office when she received an unexpected phone call. It was from her best friend, Jenny, who had been following her progress from afar. "Hey, how's everything going?" Jenny asked, her voice full of excitement. Emma smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude for the support her friend had given her over the years. "It's been incredible. A little overwhelming, but in a good way. I'm really starting to find my place here." "That's amazing!" Jenny exclaimed. "I knew you could do it, Emma. You're going to change so many lives with this project." Emma chuckled, feeling the warmth of her friend's words. "I hope so. It's been a lot of work, but I think we're really making an impact." There was a pause on the other end of the line before Jenny spoke again, her tone softer now. "I've been thinking about something. You're so focused on this project, but what about you? You're changing so many lives, but you deserve something for yourself too. Don't forget to take care of yourself, Emma." The words hit her harder than she expected. She had been so caught up in the whirlwind of work and responsibility that she hadn't stopped to think about herself in a while. She was giving everything to the project, but what about her? What about her own happiness? "You're right," Emma said quietly, her voice thoughtful. "I've been so focused on making this work that I haven't really stopped to think about what I want outside of this. But I don't know what that looks like right now." "Well, don't forget to find it," Jenny said gently. "You can't pour from an empty cup, Emma. Make sure you're taking care of you, too." Emma sat back in her chair, the weight of Jenny's words sinking in. She had been so driven by the idea of success and making a difference that she had forgotten to take care of herself. It was a realization that hit her like a wave. She had been so focused on proving herself to everyone else that she hadn't given herself permission to live her own life. That evening, as Emma walked out of the office and into the cool night air, she paused for a moment to take it all in. The city was bustling around her, but for the first time in a while, she felt a sense of calm. She had worked hard to get here, and she was proud of everything she had accomplished. But she also knew that Jenny was right. She needed to find balance. The next few days were a turning point for Emma. She started to carve out time for herself, taking walks in the park, meeting friends for coffee, and even returning to her flower shop to reconnect with the simple joy of arranging flowers. It wasn't about abandoning her work, it was about finding a way to nurture herself while still pursuing her goals. One afternoon, as she sat in the park, sipping a cup of tea and watching the leaves fall from the trees, her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. It was a simple text, but the words struck a chord. "You're doing great, Emma. But don't forget, I'm here for you, no matter what." She smiled to herself, feeling a warmth spread through her. Liam had always been there for her, and now, for the first time, she realized she was learning to be there for herself too. It was a new chapter in her life, one that she hadn't expected, but one she was finally ready to embrace. Emma's journey was just beginning, and while there were still many challenges ahead, she knew she had the strength to face them. With Liam's support and the lessons she was learning along the way, she was becoming the woman she had always wanted to be, a woman who could change the world, but also the woman who knew how to take care of herself along the way. To be continued. As the months passed, Emma's life began to settle into a new rhythm. She was thriving in her leadership role at the foundation, and every day felt like a step closer to making a real difference. But it wasn't just the work that had changed her, it was how she had begun to see herself. No longer just the girl running a flower shop, she was now a leader, a changemaker. Her confidence had grown, and with each successful project, she felt more assured in her abilities. Yet, even with all the progress, there were moments when Emma still doubted herself. It wasn't uncommon for her to feel overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility, especially when things didn't go as planned. But those moments were becoming fewer and farther between. She had learned to rely on her team, to delegate, and most importantly, to trust in her own instincts. One evening, after a long day at the office, Emma found herself sitting in her favorite cafe, sipping on a cup of tea. The room was quiet, the only sounds coming from the soft chatter of people around her and the clink of coffee cups. It was the perfect moment for reflection. As she stared out the window, she thought about how far she had come. Just a year ago, she had never imagined herself in this position. Now, she was leading a foundation, building something that was going to impact so many lives. Her phone buzzed on the table, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a text from Liam. "Meeting tomorrow. 9 a.m. I need to talk to you about something important." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of anxiety. What could it be? Liam never sounded this serious in his texts. She quickly replied, "Of course. I'll be there." The next morning, Emma arrived at the office early. The lights were still dim, and the office was quieter than usual. She sat at her desk, trying to distract herself, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the text from Liam. What did he want to talk about? Was something wrong with the project? Or was it about her role at the foundation? As the clock struck 9, Emma heard footsteps approaching. She looked up and saw Liam walking toward her, his expression unreadable. He didn't seem upset, but there was a certain intensity in his eyes. "Good morning," he said, giving her a quick nod as he sat down across from her. "Morning," Emma replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "What's going on, Liam? You said you needed to talk to me." Liam leaned back in his chair, his gaze never leaving hers. "I've been thinking about you, Emma. About everything you've done for this foundation. You've given it your heart and soul. And I've been impressed with how far you've come." Emma felt her chest tighten at his words. He was always encouraging, but there was something different in his tone this time. "There's something I need to say," Liam continued, his voice soft but firm. "You're ready for more, Emma. I've seen how you handle things, and I believe you're capable of leading this entire foundation, not just the project. I think it's time for you to take over as the CEO." Emma froze, her mind racing. Was he serious? The CEO? Her? It felt like a dream, but there was no mistaking the sincerity in Liam's eyes. "Liam, I don't know what to say," she whispered, feeling a rush of emotions. "I've never thought about being the CEO of something this big." "You're more than ready," Liam replied, his voice filled with conviction. "You've proven yourself time and time again. You've got the vision, the drive, and the heart to take this foundation to new heights. I'm offering you the position because I believe in you, Emma." For a moment, Emma was speechless. The weight of the offer hung in the air, and she could feel the gravity of the decision she was being asked to make. It was everything she had worked for, everything she had dreamed of. But it was also terrifying. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, what about you? What happens to you?" Liam smiled softly, his expression gentle. "I'm not going anywhere. This foundation is yours now. You're ready for this." Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had come so far, but this was the moment she had been waiting for. She had always wanted to make a real impact, to lead something that could change lives. Now, she had the chance to do that. And with Liam's support, she knew she could make it happen. "Okay," Emma said, her voice steady now. "I'll do it. I'll take the position." Liam's smile widened, and he stood up, extending his hand to her. "I knew you would. You won't regret it, Emma. You've got this." As Emma shook his hand, she felt a surge of excitement and fear collide inside her. This was the next chapter in her life, and it was starting now. She wasn't just the girl with a flower shop anymore. She was the new CEO, ready to take on the world. To be continued. As Emma stepped into her new role as CEO, the weight of responsibility felt both thrilling and daunting. The first few weeks were a blur of meetings, planning sessions, and strategic decisions. She was now leading a foundation that was touching countless lives, and with that came a whole new level of pressure. But Emma felt ready. The work was challenging, yes, but it was also fulfilling. She had the power to make a real difference, and that fueled her every decision. Her days were long, and the demands were high, but Emma found herself rising to the occasion every single time. She had learned from the best, and Liam's guidance had been invaluable. But now, she was on her own, still connected to him, still benefiting from his advice, but it was her vision that would carry the foundation forward. One afternoon, after a particularly intense meeting, Emma sat in her office, staring out at the city below. She had worked so hard to get here, and now, as the CEO, it felt surreal. Her phone buzzed on her desk, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "I'm proud of you, Emma. I knew you had it in you." A smile tugged at her lips as she read his words. She had come so far, and in some ways, it felt like just the beginning. She had started out as a small-town girl with a flower shop, uncertain of her place in the world, but now she was leading a foundation that could change the lives of so many. It wasn't just about the work, it was about the people she was helping and the impact she was making. Emma replied quickly, her fingers typing with a sense of confidence. "I couldn't have done it without your support. Thank you for believing in me." She set the phone down, taking a deep breath as she turned back to the work at hand. It was a huge responsibility, but she had never felt more alive. Emma knew there would be tough days ahead. She knew there would be challenges and moments of doubt. But with the foundation's mission at her back and the lessons she had learned, she was ready for whatever came next. The foundation continued to grow, and with each passing month, Emma felt her vision expand. She made new connections, reached new milestones, and, most importantly, kept her focus on the mission to give people the opportunities they deserved and make a real, lasting impact. Her relationship with Liam, though more professional now, remained a source of strength. They continued to collaborate closely, and his mentorship was always there when she needed it. But Emma had found her own voice, and it was her leadership that was steering the foundation into the future. One evening, after an especially successful charity event, Emma stood at the back of the room, watching people mingle and celebrate the success of the night. She felt a sense of pride in how far the foundation had come, but also a deep sense of gratitude for the people who had supported her along the way: Liam, her team, her friends, and most importantly, herself. She had taken the leap, and it had paid off in ways she had never imagined. As the evening came to a close, Liam walked over to her, a smile on his face. "You did it, Emma. This is all you." Emma looked at him, a feeling of warmth spreading through her. "No, this is all of us," she replied. "But thank you for everything." Liam's smile softened as he nodded. "You're the one who made it happen. I just helped you find your way." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of those words sink in. She had found her way. She had started out as a florist, unsure of her place in the world, and now she was leading a movement, one that would continue to grow and evolve. And as she looked around the room, she realized that, for the first time in a long while, she wasn't just a part of the world, she was shaping it. Her journey had just begun, but Emma knew one thing for sure: this was exactly where she was meant to be. The end.